breakfast last week, we brought you the news that no decision would be announced about the future of Shepton Mallet prison site until at least the middle of next month. The company selling the prison on the Ministry of Justice's behalf told us that bids from people wanting to take over the site were being considered until then. Well, the Ministry itself would only tell us that it's considering bids, that no decisions have been made, and that it will always seek the best value for taxpayers. There's a phrase we hear a lot. So no real surprises, I suppose. Well, we all know already that there are 2 bids that have been put in to take over the site, and this morning, for the first time, we can speak to the people behind one of those bids. So, good morning to Joel Campbell and Kerry Farmer. Welcome to BBC Somerset.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Just to briefly run us through your plans for the prison there.
So our plans encompass a number of different elements. There's 11 key aims that we have for the prison. One of the things we would be looking to do is set up, obviously, as a charity. Those 11 aims would then become part of the charity commission, so how we would actually run the building and facilities. With regards to the uses for the building, there's 15 different uses that we've identified, which take up about 3/4 of the actual space. It's obviously quite a big site. So in those different uses, we're proposing things like a fitness centre, there would be a museum, there will be a number of tours that we would run, which will take into consideration the history of the prison, the building itself, some of the architecture. We're looking at running different programmes, educational programmes, behavioural programmes and such. There's going to be a hotel that will go into place. We're proposing potentially the movement of the library from the town centre into the prison, and a number of other pieces that we've put through.
Well, yeah, and I wonder, Kerry, whether, I mean, that all sounds very impressive, but it's a bit of a mixed bag of things, isn't it, really? Could that be a disadvantage rather than an advantage?
It is definitely a mixed bag, but they all work together in one way or another. Part of the education, the programmes will be running different apprenticeships across the board, so that's going to help with that side of things. They do.
You don't normally get that cheek by jowl with a hotel, though, do you?
No, you don't. Really, the element with the hotel is there's a lot of space in the prison that has to be used. With the hotel, we will use that as well for the corporate booking. So when we bring in corporate team events, team building events and such, they'll be able to utilise the hotel and actually stay for 2-3 days. Again, the same when we do school tours. So there's a whole school programme we'll run. If we brought schools in from abroad, for example, they'd actually be able to stay on site. And then we'd envisage that at the weekends we'd find more visitors coming from.
And you mentioned a museum. What's going to be in the museum?
It's going to cover not only the prison history, but also history of Shepton, Somerset. The main we're hoping to incorporate the main key features of Shepton Mallet within that.
I wonder, listening to that, whether you've been inspired by the old Oxford jail, because the idea of a hotel, a restaurant, making it pretty sort of sparkling and giving a visitor experience here. Whether that's been an inspiration, but there is a problem, which is the fact that Shepton isn't Oxford, is it?
That's correct. Yeah, it's basically how we bring visitors into Shepton. Thankfully, there's already a number of things in Shepton that run. Mulberry's obviously quite a big visitor attraction. Obviously, the cider factories and such that we have there, and we hope that by bringing the prison forwards in the way we are, we'll again increase the number of visitors that they come into the town. But we are obviously just on the outskirts of Wells, Wookey, Cheddar, not too far from Bath, not too far from Bristol. So we're kind of really in the heart of what we would see as that tourist element.
Let's talk pound signs. How much was your bid for?
Our bid, we actually put in a nominal figure for our bid. We put in a £1.
Right, OK. Well, that's quite a risky business, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We weighed it up very, very carefully, and we were looking at the different amounts that we thought developers would be putting through for residential units, and we came to the conclusion that if we were to bid in the region of about £150,000, £200,000, which is where we felt the other bidders would be going, then the amount of money we'd have to spend just to purchase the prison wouldn't allow us to move forwards with some of the plans we want to do. So from our aspect, it was very much a case back to the MOJ to say we will pay a nominal figure for this building, but we will turn it into something much bigger than just residential use.
Do you think that might backfire?
It may do, but I think when the MOJ talk about best value for the taxpayer, it's very unclear as to what that is, whether that's the amount of money that comes from the sale of the premises, or whether that's actually the amount of money that will then come into the local town.
Has the Ministry of Justice been unclear then about that?
I wouldn't say they've been unclear. I mean, what they've said is they will seek the best value for the taxpayer. There's been no definition of how that's managed, or how that's monitored, or how that's even assessed.
You, Kerry, used to work in the prison. What did you used to do?
I used to work in the programmes department, running offender behaviour programmes. So this is kind of where the idea came from to run programmes in there again, was that whilst
Would it be a bit weird going back to the place you used to work?
No, not at all. I have a great passion for the building, and also the work that we used to do, and kind of recreating that on the outside of the walls I think will be fantastic.
How frustrating is it, this delay in the decision about who takes over?
It has been a little frustrating, I think, in terms of just how we manage the plans and what the next step is for us, whether planning applications are next or different funding and such. But ultimately, I don't think it's a bad move. There's 4 prisons in the southwest that the Ministry of Justice are looking to dispose of, and really what they're trying to do, as we can see, is dispose of those all in the same setting.
In one go, basically.
Yeah, which will ultimately reduce the cost to the taxpayer and to the MOJ. If you have to go through the process 4 times, you have to pay 4 times as much to do it. So in that sense, I think it's quite a sensible decision, and hopefully by the middle of August we'll see. Dorchester closes on the 1st of August, so hopefully past that we'll see a decision towards the end of the month.
Interestingly, your plans don't include housing, do they?
No.
Why not?
It was certainly inside the prison building. We couldn't see any use for residential, and both of us live in Shepton. I think we felt quite strongly with the amount of housing that's been built in Shepton recently, of the recent years, that actually the prison shouldn't be used for housing, and there was many better uses for it, rather than just developing it and selling it on.
Kerry, we know that you're not the only bidders. How does that make you feel?
We're not sure how many bidders there are, but we know obviously of at least 2 of us. I think it's fantastic. Our point of view is our main point was to preserve the building. That's part of what we're about.
You sound quite confident about this.
Yeah, I'm confident I'm passionate about what we do, and I believe in what we can do, and I think that, as Joel's already said, kind of our vision for it is going to benefit a number of people and the town itself.
It's still a waiting game, and so you've got to wait, and we've got to wait as well, but we'll talk again, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us and coming in.
Thank you.
Joel Campbell and Kerry Farmer, and between them they've put in a bid to take over Shepton Mallet Prison. Now, we did contact the other known bidder for the prison, offering them the chance to share their plans this morning in exactly the same way that Joel and Kerry have, but they say they weren't able to make a response. So maybe, we'll keep our fingers crossed they might be able to sort of come out from the woodwork in the coming weeks. BBC Somerset on a Wednesday morning, 95.5 FM, 1566 AM.
Travel. BBC Somerset.